I don't know if you want to start anywhere in particular, but for me, I'd love to start by taking it back a little bit. Some folks on our staff might know your story, but I assume our audience might not. You've become a leading figure in music education here in Miami, and you've been a prominent musician for quite a few years now. But how did all that start? I want you to take me back to your first falling in love with music, and take me through those formative years when you were the age of these guys that we've been seeing in our studio today.
Honestly, it started when I was very young. I grew up in Miami Beach, single-family home. I was at North Beach Elementary, 4th grade, and I saw the Miami Beach Senior High Rock Ensemble perform at Arts and Culture Day, which we still do to this very day.
And everybody in Rock Ensemble who was in the studio today brought up that day. I mean, that's clearly an impactful, inspiring day in a lot of young kids' lives.
Yeah, when you're 9 years old, it makes such a big difference to see such an amazing, talented group, especially high school students. You look up to them. And I saw and I said, I want to play guitar. That's awesome. So the next year I got to play guitar in school with Miss Medic, who is still there. We actually work with her now and support her.
Yeah. Shout out to Monique Medic.
Yeah. And with music came that safe space, that opportunity to be able to be alone, escape from the things in your house, in life, and to just be able to express yourself. And with music came mentors, amazing mentors. So I got to work with Miss Medic and then Mr. Modia, another legend in Nautilus Middle School. And when I got to high school, I met Mr. Burris, who's director of the Rock Ensemble, the group I saw when I was in 4th grade. And he had MS. He's paralyzed and couldn't move. And to see this man teach, sitting there in his chair, all he had was his mouth. And he would teach 30 kids guitar, class after class, rock ensemble after school, guitar ensemble. And I got to be in rock ensemble. I got to be in classical guitar ensemble, and he embraced me. And I spent every day after school from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. playing music. And that's when I really stepped it up as a musician, and also just being influenced by other people, getting to hang out with the seniors, and just having those friendships and opportunities to perform, to travel, go to Japan, go to New York, go to New Orleans. And I was always that kid that someone sponsored me. I couldn't afford to pay for the trips, and people would take care of me. And I was just always thankful for that.
Yeah. Can I ask you, in high school, I can imagine having all of those types of experiences, it would predispose you to take it more seriously. But did you go into high school knowing, okay, I'm going to be a musician, this is what I'm going to do, etc., or did that moment come later?
In my heart, I always knew I wanted to be a musician, but I was scared to say that or to think that I was allowed to do that, because I just grew up in a time where being a musician wasn't that supported, at least not in my household, not really around. And I remember when I graduated, I was told, you had your fun, you're a musician, you played all these shows, I played in a rock band, but it's time to put your toys away and to take something more seriously. And I fell into that. And I went to college and I went for pre-med.
So you listened to those voices that were saying, hey, I know you love music, but let's be practical.
Exactly.
Let's do something responsible here instead.
Yeah, well, not coming from a family of means, I was trying to be realistic about that, not being able to afford it. So I was lucky, though. I was a good student, so I had a full ride. I went to Barry University. I did pre-med for 3 years. I was in a band called Jacob's Ladder, and I kept playing. I was playing classical guitar. And I went to the frog doctor, who was my counselor at the school.
Okay, you're going to have to explain what that is.
So you walk in this woman's room, and there's just frogs lined up in every patch of the wall, dolls, everything. And I guess that's what she specialized in. She was the frog doctor.
Okay, I'm sorry, though. Hold on, before we move on. She specialized in working on frogs?
I have
she
no
was
idea.
A veterinary type of...
no idea.
Okay.
Maybe she was a zoologist? I'm not sure.
All right, frog specialist of some kind.
She loved frogs. That's all. That's all I knew.
Okay, what did this frog doctor do for you?
So the frog doctor, I sat with her and I said, I have opportunity to go on tour.
And this was with your band?
Yeah, but I would have to leave school for a little bit. I just took my last final. So she's like, are you failing? When I was like, no. She looks at my grades like, oh, wow, you have a 3.7. You're doing really well. So she looked at me and said, go. And I looked at her, I was like, what do you mean go? She said, you can always come back. Your scholarship would always be here, but you can't always do that. That won't always be there. So it was that first time where you had that encouragement of just go do it.
I imagine you didn't think you were going to get that response when you went to her, right? And again, I don't know the significance of this frog doctor in your life before then, but I don't know why you picked her to go talk to, but was that the answer you were expecting, or what were you expecting when you walked in?
I was expecting to be talked into staying and everything, but I truly just wanted advice from somebody. And I didn't bat an eye. She right away called the exit counselor, so I told them to put my scholarship on hold, and then I remember the counselor that picked up the phone was like, what, is he failing? Same thing. And they said, no, he's not. So that was that. That was my last day in school. I left. I went on tour, and I started touring. And when I started touring, I had to have breaks in between, so I started to teach guitar. Because I had to figure out how to make a living. You couldn't really work a normal job when you're doing that, and that's when I truly fell in love with teaching, with working with students, the younger generation, and just the families, being around these families and being in their homes, and it was something nurturing that I didn't have growing up that I was able to get through that. And it was super helpful in my growing up, and just filled a lot of holes that I had personally. And a few years later, I actually went back to the frog doctor to thank her. But she passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, wow, like it's just that moment.
No, that's a huge impact, and you got to wonder if she knew she was having that impact on you in that moment, because that, you could say that moment changed the rest of your life dramatically.
Yeah, it did. It 100% changed my life. If she fought with me, I don't know if I would be here right now.
That's really cool. Sometimes that's all I mean, that's what excites me about doing the work that we get to do every day, is that sometimes you don't know what it's going to take for a student to push them over that edge, or for a young person. You don't know what little word of encouragement is going to make the difference, you know?
You never
so
know.
you have to have the at-bat.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to do the work that we do to push students and give them the opportunity to know that you can have a career in music.
Yeah.
So I started touring. I did that.
Can I ask you,
yeah.
like how old were you at the point of that conversation when you decided to leave school and go on tour?
21 years old.
Okay, gotcha. And then you played in that band and you toured for a while, right?
For a long time. So I was about 26 years old, 27 years old. We worked together for a long time, and actually, our videographer Brian was the drummer in the band.
Yeah, we have a second member of Jacob's Ladder in the studio with us right here.
Yeah, we just got to a point where we had some legal issues with a contract with the label. We had an investment. We re-signed something, but didn't realize we had to give more records, and then they were fighting over the record. It was just being naive and young.
Music business stuff.
Yeah, so we couldn't play for a while. We couldn't do this and that. And I just got to this weird point in my life where I just wanted to move on. And I called my best friend, Scott, who was my first friend since I was in kindergarten on the first day of school, who was in med school at the time. And because we promised each other we would be doctors together if we did it.
Oops.
Yeah. So I called Scott, and I said, Scott, I don't know what I'm doing. I can go back, finish my last year.
And were you considering that at the time? Like as the touring was slowing down and you were getting in the legal trouble with the band and et cetera. Yeah. So that was a big thing on your mind. Like, do I go back or do I do this for real? Like, was that kind of a crossroads for you?
I was just not in a good place. You know, that place where you just feel like you failed, self-doubt, imposter syndrome. What am I doing with my life? I'm 26, 27. All my friends are lawyers now, and they're working and they're living their lives, and I have $12 in my bank account. You know, it's like it was just a rough period. So I called Scott and I said, I'm thinking about going back and finishing and being a doctor. And Scott said, "That's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. You're so talented. What are you talking about? Go figure it out," and hung up on me. And I was like, okay. And I remember like yesterday being in the living room on the rug, sitting there. And I walked into my laptop. I started looking for schools. I found New World School of the Arts. And I realized that's a classical conservatory, not just for high school, but for college. And you get a degree from University of Florida. So the next day I went over to the dean. I just went to the school, went there to the dean. I said, "Can I play for you?" He said, "Okay." I played Capriccio Arabe. He was a classical pianist himself, Spanish music. And he said, "I will let you in 100%. I'll even give you a full ride, and you'll get paid to go to the school. But you're just not going to get in because the deadline is today for all the paperwork to get registered."
Oh, no way.
So
Okay.
he
Plot
told,
twist.
yeah, right. So he told me where to go. He said, "You're gonna have to go here. And you have to go to the other office." So I just went downstairs, started talking to them, went to the other office. I had to go all the way to Kendall, and the lady said, "This is not gonna happen. You're not gonna get registered." And I said, I don't know what kind of puppy face I had on. What happened? I looked at her and I said, "I really, really need this. I can't wait till January. Like, I need this. I need to change. I need to do something with my life." And somehow she made some calls and it happened. And I was in school 3 days later. That was a Friday. And on Monday I started. And that was a big change in my life. And that was when I was teaching 15 students a week. I was practicing guitar 4 hours a day. I was going to college. I actually started Young Musicians Unite in its infancy then. It was really, really small. It was just 8 kids, 1 classroom. And that's when I was working 80, 100 hours a week. And I just really wanted to change something in my life. And it really just shows you if you do something for a long time, you're just eventually going to be one of the last men standing.
Yeah, persistence.
Right? Because
super underestimated.
you're just going to be really good at it, number one. And two, it's how you treat people. If you treat people with respect and you always show up on time and you're always eager to learn and you truly care, people read that and people look for that. I look for that. You look for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, those students that work so hard, we want to do everything we can to take care of them.
Because then you know, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
it's then you know it's a matter of time.
Yes.
It's not will they become great, it's when will they become great.
Exactly.
You know, it's like when you can identify that quality in a student, it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here I was throughout this whole time when I chose to go back to do all of this. My family didn't support it. They told me over and over I was a loser. What am I doing with my life? Why wasn't I becoming a doctor? And I did the 4 years. I had to start from scratch. It didn't matter what I did. I did 3 years. It took me 7 years to get a bachelor's degree.
Okay. And I can only imagining that was a humbling experience coming into your freshman year, 7 years older than everybody else in your class.
28 years old.
Okay, more than 7 years older than some of the people in your freshman class, right?
Yeah. I met Alan. I met Maria there, who's our program director, regional directors. And when I graduated, I had the opportunity to get a 75% ride to University of Miami for my master's. And I just decided, you know what? I really love Young Musicians Unite. We were only in 2 schools at the time.
It was kind of it was like a hobby or like a serious side project that you had while you were in school, right? You were balancing the 2 of them together.
It was just it was mainly a side project. That's a good way of putting it. It was just 2 sites, 24 students. It was really small. I would just do it 2 days a week, maybe 4 sometimes. It wasn't anything serious, but
you were teaching yourself, right? There were no teachers working for you. It was
Alan was working with me at the time.
Okay, so Alan was already a part at that time.
Yeah, he was working. I needed that help to be able to do 2 sites. And I just decided I'm not going to do this master's. I'm going to pursue Young Musicians Unite because I just had this feeling that if I didn't do it then, it would have never happened.
Like it was the time.
It was the time. And I saw Miami changing. I saw the philanthropy in Miami. I saw communities coming together. I saw that people were speaking, that the city was blowing up. And you fast forward now, 3 years later, We went from 2 sites to 24 students to 2,500. A full team. We have about 70 people working with us between the teachers and staff members and interns. And it just shows you, if you truly believe in yourself and you truly work towards your dreams and your goals and you're genuine to yourself and you work really hard, you never know where you're going to be. But I didn't know that I would be 35 years old running a nonprofit. We founded a school together, an after-school for-profit for private lessons, and we own a recording studio together too with a few other people. So every single dream that I thought was stupid growing up that I didn't want to say out loud, I'm currently living.
Me too,
It's my
man.
life. It's my daily life.
Yeah.
And I'm just so thankful. And, you know, it's a lot of work. It's hard. Sometimes you can get frustrated for the smallest things, but that I always try to remind myself, you're living a dream. Like where you came from to where you are now. If someone told me when I was 10 years old, when I picked up the guitar, hey, you're going to pick this instrument up and you're going to have every dream you want for your career, I would have laughed at them, you know. And the biggest thing for me, to just bring the story full circle, is, you know, Doug Burris meant the world to me. He was a huge mentor figure in my life, my high school teacher, and I got to play for him. We kept in contact. I got to play for him when I was, I think, 26, 27. And I just remember him. Actually, no, I was 30. I was like 29, 30 when I was mid-college. And I remember playing for him, and he looked at me and he said, wow, like, you're really good. Like, that's amazing. And he just told me how proud he was of Young Musicians Unite, because he told me I couldn't do it when I first wanted to do it.
Interesting.
Because of all the red tape. But then he told me, I told you couldn't do it because I knew you're stubborn. And if I told you couldn't do it, you would have been on a mission to do it. So
I can personally verify.
Yes, I don't like people telling me I can't do something. So, you know, it meant a lot to me to have that thumbs up, that validation from someone who I truly cared about.
That's what struck me when you just said that to me. Like, there have been moments in my life, for certain, when I've heard things like that. Even I had a teacher that in hindsight, you know, he was clearly just unhappy with things. But at the time, I had a lot of respect for him because, hey, he was my elder. He was a more experienced guitar player. He went to the school that I wanted to go to. He went to University of Miami when he was a student, and he told me, well, you're never going to get in there. It's very tough. You've been playing the guitar for 1 year. You need to play the guitar for many years to then take it seriously,
usually
to
true.
then go to college, that's true. It's fair.
It's usually true. You're an anomaly.
But that motivation is huge, and I, like you, get very motivated by being told that things can't be done. But I remember seeing him a couple years later. He came to a show of mine, and he was, you know, being complimentary towards my playing and things like that. And there's something really special when someone who, for good reasons or bad reasons, thinks that, you know, something might be a little out of your reach, or is giving you something cautionary, and then you go to them and you receive, I don't know, some sort of approval. Like, that's a huge moment.
It is a huge moment. I'm happy you were able to feel that too. He called me the Renaissance man.
Okay, all right, I like that. I would agree. So I know Doug Burris was a huge figure in your life, and kind of a adult male role model, or an adult role model. And I know you said that you maybe didn't have a lot of support growing up when it came to the arts. From your perspective, like, what effect did it have on you to have somebody like Doug in your life? Like, what did that mean to you when you were maybe lacking that support in a different area?
He filled that father figure role, that support that I needed, that I didn't know that I needed at the time. And it's what we do with Young Musicians Unite, right? We're here, we are not just giving students a safe space where they can develop and grow confidence and develop their own voice. We're also filling the roles for those mentors, father figures, you know, mother figures, people, friends, just different roles that students need to develop and you just don't know what it is they need. But if you can just throw as many things as we can at them, it just sticks to a few kids. And we've seen that. I've seen Nicholas Gellin, first class of 8 students, 2013, grew up into an extraordinary trumpet player. Now he's at Manhattan School of Music on a full ride scholarship. And today is his birthday.
Today's his birthday?
Yeah, which is
no
said happy birthday.
And we got a donation from
Marilyn. I was talking to her. So
Yep.
you never know. So, Burris, he got to say everything to me, and then he passed away about a year or two later. That was hard on me. It was a little sad. It was very sad. And the most amazing thing is that Iran Garcia took over the Miami-Dade Senior High Rock Ensemble, which is the first in-school rock ensemble in American history, 1972.
Talk about that before you even talk about what happened. Talk about what Burris did. Like it was groundbreaking what he did. So talk about his contribution to the scene of like modern music being taught in schools.
Here's a man that studied at FSU, Florida State University, played guitar, was in rock bands, loved the Beach Boys and bands like that. And when he was teaching at Miami-Dade Senior High at 26 years old, he found out that he had MS and realized that he was slowly going to become paralyzed. And he decided to start a rock band, the first in-school rock band in American history. And he would work with these students after school, in school, and they would go all over the United States and perform. And if you know anyone who's a musician in Miami, they either know rock ensemble or in rock ensemble.
Absolutely.
And it's just such a legendary history. We're talking about, what is it, 50 or 60 years, right?
I can't do that math, but it's been a while, I can tell you.
So I'm not going to do math on air right now.
I believe it's somewhere around 48 years. Could be, right? 72 is when it started?
Well, so the 50th anniversary will be coming up very soon. So I saw that the ensemble was degenerating. Basically, there was no one to carry the mantle on Doug's passing and retirement. So I was just in a fortunate opportunity running Young Musicians United to say, I can do that. I can just take over Rock Ensemble and add it to YMU.
Make it a YMU program, bring our team to it, and all of the resources we have.
So we did that, and I became the director. Mac is the assistant director, who was the assistant director when I was a student, so I get to work with him. We made AJ Hill the artistic director of Spam All-Stars, and we worked together as a team. I worked with the band, bookings, and then AJ works with the band also, but they're mainly vocalists, and he tunes them.
So let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about the setup of Rock Ensemble, because I think it's pretty cool. And again, speaks to Doug's vision for the program. But you guys it's not just a band, right? Like this is a true, you could call it a vocational experience, right? Like if you're a musician, you're getting the experience of being a professional musician. If you're on their tech and stage crew, which I'd love for you to talk about, you're getting the experience of being on a real professional tech and stage
We have a
crew.
real sound system, microphones, board. We have a tech crew. They set up everything in practice, and the band sets everything up. And then we're done, we break it all down.
But this tech crew is students. So it's not like you're hiring a tech crew. You guys have built this out of the student population and trained up these young individuals.
These students actually learn how to do live mixing and sound. And David, who is here today helping us with our sound, is actually one of the sound engineers. Many people have come from being sound engineers in Rock Ensemble to pursuing a career in the industry as studio workers, live sound workers. So it's a promising career options once you're doing this for a long time. Before coronavirus, YMU had about, we were on track to do 150 shows. We had about 86. And the sound crew for Rock Ensemble was facilitating all of these performances. They were going there.
When you say 150 shows, you're talking about YMU bands performing 150 times just within the past year.
Just in 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year. And so Rock Ensemble played probably 35 shows in 1 year. And these kids have to go early. They all set everything up. They sit around.
Sound check.
They sound check. They perform. They break everything down. And then they put it all back in the van, then they go back to the school and unload it again, and it's a 12-hour a day.
Yeah.
And they really know what it's like to perform and to set up and break down.
I feel like a lot of people don't realize, especially non-musicians or young musicians who have an aspiration to be a professional musician, a lot of them don't realize how much non-music work goes into being a musician. There's loading the van and taking it back to the school and taking it all out and organizing it. Like, those things are actually more of a part of your day being a musician than the music part. And so I think it's amazing that these students are getting that, like a real glimpse into what it's going to be like, instead of having a delusional idea of what being a professional musician might be like. They get to see whether they really, truly want to pursue that for themselves.
And there's just so many moving parts, not getting in an accident on the way there, not losing anything, not breaking anything. Did we forget?
Have your guitar in tune.
Being in tune. Like, all these things and moving parts. And we teach that to the students. We don't baby them. We make sure that they set up their own stuff. They're sound checking their own. You know, Mac trains the techies during the rehearsals, but he walks away live shows. And we have this respect from the musicians and the techies. We make sure that they're all working together, because I always say, if you're not nice to them, the musicians and your prima donnas, then remember, they're the ones doing your sound. You're not going to sound that great at the show. Because we
can't be rude to the sound guy.
They would quit all the time. They would come and go and come and go. And once I took over, I changed that. I said, you don't just show up and grab your guitar. You grab a PA speaker. Right. And we made them all work together. And it used to just be the sound crew doing that. And because of that, no one quit. It kept growing. We had like 12 kids at the end of the first year I did it. And the kids sounded fantastic because they worked together. They were friends. And they just had such a strong bond and no ill will and good feelings towards each other. And you know, it takes a lot of training just from teachers and everything to be able to do that. But there's like this organic magic. So I was happy to be part of that as a kid. I saw rock ensemble as a child. It influenced me to want to be a musician. I got to be in a group in high school. And now here I am, full circle, as the director of the Miami-Dade Senior High Rock Ensemble, which is under Young Musicians Unite. So you just never know how things are going to turn out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about some maybe less YMU related things for a minute. I want to get personal. No, but I want to talk to you still about music. You've as a true Renaissance man, you've spanned a number of genres. You know, you're an accomplished classical guitar player. You had a band named Jacob's Ladder where you guys played rock music, and if I'm not mistaken, you played bass in the band, right?
Yeah, I've been playing bass guitar since I was 6th grade.
What'd you play in rock ensemble?
Guitar and bass. I started on bass, and then I went to guitar.
Okay, gotcha. And when you went to New World School of the Arts, that was to study classical guitar.
Okay, yeah,
cool.
I'm a strong classical guitar player and a strong rock bass player. Like, those are my two genres that I'm most comfortable in.
Do you feel like those are disparate? Like, do you feel like they were pulling your attention in different ways, or do you feel like they complemented each other?
They're very complementary, because you're setting the groove in a band as a bass player, and you're locking with the drums, and I just love playing bass in bands. It's my favorite thing to do. I don't want to play electric guitar in bands. You know, I do it in the studio. I get to do 30 takes, do my thing. You know,
okay.
I like making weird sounds. I'm very experimental. Like, I like messing with pedals and being ambient. That's my thing. If I'm going to play electric guitar, I want to make noise. I want to be weird. In classical, it's brutal. You're playing bass, rhythm, and lead all in one with two hands. Takes a lot of focus. And it was my discipline, and all that music was always in the back of my head and helped me be a good producer and songwriter too, because you just have these melodies that are just ingrained in your brain, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. What about now? Obviously, we've got a situation with your left arm going on over here. So I can imagine you're not playing too much at the moment. Hopefully you'll be back to that very, very soon. I'm sure it gives you an appreciation for playing. But what are you checking out these days? What kind of, for our wonderful musical audience out there, what kind of music can we turn people on to today?
It's funny, I've been listening to a lot of Mogwai again.
Okay.
Revisiting some old Mars Volta albums. Really like Mastodon and Deftones, their new album. I'm just, I think this whole arm thing made me a little angry sometimes. So I'm just listening to
Get
really
some aggressive
heavy,
music.
aggressive music. But I love
Letting
it.
it out.
And, you know, and I just love all kinds. And I love indie rock, really into that. I love the New Killers album. I think it's amazing. I've been listening to Moby, his classic album that everyone knows.
Yeah.
So very varied.
Yeah, you definitely have a wide
Very wide range.
taste. Yeah.
I just download full albums and I'll look at my iTunes and I'll look at like 20 photos of albums and I listen to full albums. I'm not like these kids today who can't listen to more than like 30 seconds of a song. Like I don't get that. I have to listen to the whole thing.
I'm into the full albums too.
Pink Floyd.
It's like an immersive experience if you do it that way.
Yeah.
All right, so one more question on that subject then, because you have such an eclectic taste. What's an artist that you think people would be surprised to find out that you listen to, especially like a guilty pleasure artist? Anything like you listen to Miley Cyrus sometimes when nobody's watching? Like, what's going on?
It's funny. One of my top 3 bands is brand new.
Okay.
Super emo.
Let's go, baby.
I don't listen to emo music, but I know every word to like all 6 of their albums.
I don't know every word, but I know half for sure.
Obsessed. I love the recordings. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Leon Bridges, that album, I really, really loved it. It's such a girly album. I don't know if that's appropriate to say, but you know, I feel like I'm 15 again in love. Listening to it.
Okay, for me, Brand New is actually a band that does this. You know how some people say that, like, when you have a smell, like maybe the smell of a dish your mom used to make when you were a kid, you get taken back there all of a sudden?
Yeah.
To me, certain albums do that. Like, certain albums I listened to in high school when I was going through, like, my first heartbreak and things like that. And there's a Brand New album that's on that list. Of
Deja on the
Vu?
Chandra or something like that. Yeah. That reminds me of my first major heartbreak at 21 years old.
Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of. I remember crying one time listening to an album on the way home somewhere.
I am 100% with you. That's funny. Brand New. Got to bring back Brand New.
Embarrassing myself.
Get it. So I want to talk to you about some of the things you're doing and that we're doing together outside of YMU. And I want to know from your perspective, I know you and I have talked about this a lot and I've given my answer, but from your perspective, how it all comes together. Because right now you and I are working heavily on Young Musicians Unite. But then outside of that, we also have the Wynwood School of Music, which is a private school for both group and individual instruction in Wynwood. We have the Bull Productions, which is a recording studio
My
in
boy
North
Andrew
Miami.
over here.
I was about to say, we've got senior engineer and partner at the Bull Productions, Andrew Gonzalez, running the board for us today.
I think Andrew was 16 when we started the studio together.
That's amazing.
He was a baby.
That's amazing. That's so
Were
fun.
you 16? Is that a thumbs up?
17?
Even worse.
Okay. All right. And Andrew, were you at New World at that time?
No.
No. Okay, so wait, tell me, how did you and Andrew meet?
We're recording an album for Jacob's Ladder with Carlos de la Garza, who did Paramore.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other great people. And Andrew was interning at the Dungeon. He was great, super cool. And Carlos said, that guy's going to be an engineer one day. He's really great.
Got it.
So when I recorded my classical guitar DVD with Cyrus Belucci of Newfound Glory in his little studio on the other side of the warehouse district, I just at one point said, I would love to do this one day. And Cyrus said, well, I'm moving to California, so if you want this space, it's yours. It's already built out. No gear will be here. So I called Andrew. I said, hey, bro, I'll get a $15,000 loan. We'll buy some equipment. Let's start a studio. That was it.
Awesome. Rest is history. Now it's 6 people working together, booked 24 hours a day. I mean, it's been a journey.
We have a studio that's booked every hour of the day. That's amazing.
That's a very lucky thing
Talented
to be able to
people.
help other. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that. It's a lucky thing to be able to help other musicians make music. Like that's a.
And spill coffee on
yeah,
yourself.
that was amazing,
too.
man. Well,
Sip. That's why you need sippy cups. Look at that. It's all good.
don't worry, I'll be dumping it on a laptop fairly soon. You know it's coming.
At least I didn't drop it on a laptop like you have done twice.
Twice this week. So we've got Young Musicians Unite going on. We've got the studio going on. We've got the school going on. We have some other projects outside of that. In your mind, how does this all come together for you and to give you a hint at what you know my answer is already. How does this affect Miami at large as a city?
Look, it's just that whole idea when I was a child that making a living being a musician is not plausible. I want to fight that every turn I can. So together with all our friends,
Because it's wrong.
it's wrong. It's totally wrong. I make a really good living. I work really hard. I have 3 jobs, maybe 4, but I love it. I love every moment of it. I'd rather do that than be at one job for 100 hours a week or 40 hours. There's no such thing as a 40-hour work week. That's what I tell kids anymore.
But if there was a 20-hour work week that I could take and get paid the same amount of money and never have music in my life again, or I could work 100 hours for music.
Yeah, any day.
I mean, that's
Any
no
day.
choice.
So we were just focused on providing infrastructures for musicians, for upcoming musicians, for students, for beginner students. We just want to make sure that whether you want to get into music, you want to be a professional musician, you are a professional musician, and you need work in between touring, that we want to make sure that all of that is supported by what we're doing to recording music, releasing music. Me and you are obsessed with covering every single area of what a musician needs to become successful.
Yeah. I think we've described it before as like the creative infrastructure of this city. You know what I mean? Like we need that infrastructure. We need that support system so that when a gem comes through the system, like Ceci Leon, like Steven Shapiro,
Lily
like
Kaplan.
Dave Desmaretz, like Lily Kaplan, like Cooper.
Yes.
Like to see those students come through the system, to me, I just want to give them every opportunity they can because I know they're going to do an amazing job with it. Like they're not going to take it for granted. It's going to be meaningful to them.
So think about that, those students you just mentioned. We have a recording studio for Young Musicians Unite now. So
just opened 3 weeks ago with working with our good friend over here, Andrew Gonzalez, and other partners from our studio.
So if you're a student now and you want to record an original song, you can do that for free while being produced by Andrew, who's an amazing engineer and producer. That was so expensive to do growing up, so we wanted to eliminate that barrier and get rid of that. Students shouldn't dream of recording, they should just do it. And that's the barrier we eliminated because of 1RPM, because of Dan Lewis, because of Music Access, the Miami Foundation, all these partners coming together. And now these kids own their masters to get their music on Spotify, iTunes, everything. This is just one of many things. We've started a podcast. We've started a TV show that's once a month. And that's the cool thing, is coming up with wacky ideas and then together figuring out how to make them possible. Usually Zach has to look at me like, Sammy, we can do like half of what you just said without losing our minds and affording it, but we can do it. And then you go and you disappear and you twinkle in your laboratory and it happens, and it's great. But being able to have an amazing team, we have, yourself, amazing. We have Melanie Greenwald, our CFO, Maria, our programs director. We have Kathy, operations, Karen Younger, communications, Alan, Brandon, regional directors, and then we have 30 teachers and amazing interns. And it was just so many people that we've grown with, and Marte, who helps us with consulting and fundraising, and Gabrielle. There's just so many people that are part of this organization.
We've got Brian here doing video. We've got Andrew. We've got Alex Weitz, who just flew in yesterday to help shoot all of our curriculum. He's editing these videos. I mean, to me, if I can say, one of the coolest moments, or like the biggest blessings about any of this, is getting to provide opportunities for those people too, not just for the students. You know what I mean? Like, of course, the students are the number one; they're the North Star. But as a secondary added benefit, I love that we're able to employ some of our friends, some musicians who have phenomenal talent, and people in general who deserve opportunity, who are going to work hard, whose hearts are in the right place. Like to have the opportunity to offer those experiences as well is something really meaningful to me.
Yeah, most of the people on our senior staff are amazing musicians, extremely accomplished, but they wanted to get on the other side of the music industry. They wanted to support the upcoming generation. They didn't do it because they didn't like being a musician or they weren't talented enough. So YMU gives them and myself an opportunity to learn how to do that. Like, for anyone working with this team, who would have thought, I'm going to be, I'm going to be CEO of a nonprofit. I'm going to,
Yeah, no, I was just trying to learn Oasis songs. That's how this started. I was trying to play Wonderwall, and now
I would have never, I thank Virginia Carr and Jeffrey Miller for pushing me to found Young Musicians Unite, but I would have never thought that I would be CEO and a founder of a nonprofit. I didn't even know what a 501c3 was. I just remember Virginia going, can you teach my kids in the band? Just meet every Sunday. We started doing that, and she's like, I'm going to do this 501c3 thing. I was like, oh, okay, cool, great. I don't know what that is. And here we are now, right? So fast forward.
Let's talk about that for a second, because Virginia was actually going to be with us here tonight, but we, for scheduling reasons, weren't able to have her in the studio.
She's running her own nonprofit, Strong Girls.
Yeah,
fundraising.
I was about to say, which is doing amazing on Give Miami-Dade today. So if you guys are interested in supporting a program that is instrumental in the development of young females here in Miami, please check out Strong Girls Inc. Our board member, Virginia Carr, is the director of that nonprofit foundation. She's doing amazing work. Yeah. But why don't you tell me and the rest of us a little bit, just a short version of kind of how that all got started. I know Virginia and Jeffrey were a big part of helping YMU to get started, and I want to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah. So when I stopped playing in a band, I was Virginia Carr. I was teaching her son guitar for many years at that point, and he was in high school, went to Ransom, and she said, there's a bunch of great kids, Anthony Miller, drums, Kana Carr, we have Luke on keys, Matt, bass, Chrissy Schlesinger on vocals. There's an opportunity for you to, why don't you just do the same thing, teach them how to be in a band. So we started meeting on Sundays, and I started to train them the same way that I was in a band. I taught them how to be in a band, how to get along, how not to fight together, which is a big part of it, how to gel together, become better musicians. And we threw our first performance and raised about $10,000 at that performance, which
so it was
we didn't
these
expect.
Kids that you were working with that then ended up playing in that band. And my understanding is that these were kids of means. These were not the kids that you ended up starting the foundation to serve. So how does that all tie together?
So these students went to Ransom, and they're just awesome students. And we worked together. Like I said, we did the show, raised money. And I remember the parents wanted to donate the money to like a cancer charity, Make-A-Wish, which was amazing.
Of course.
Virginia called me and said, hey, they want to do this. How do you feel about it? And I said, I don't feel so great about it. Here we are. I'm working with these kids doing music, and they are performing. And I am a person who was sponsored on my life, and it wasn't for free music education, I wouldn't be here right now. Right. So I said, I would like to really find a school that needs music. And I would volunteer myself to go and teach it. Like, I want to do that. And she felt strongly about that too. So she told the parents that, and they at first weren't happy because they didn't get it. So I sat with them at a practice, and I told them my story. And after that, they said, oh, okay, let's do that. So we adopted, because of Karen Fried, who's a friend of Jeffrey, the Young Men's Preparatory Academy, which is the Title I school in Wynwood, all boys, mostly Haitian students, which the most talented students we've ever had from YMU hail from that school. There's just something in the water there. Maybe it's the Haitian culture, the church playing, all that good stuff. It's just magical. And that's how I started teaching at the Young Men's Preparatory Academy 2 days a week. Mr. Florentine was there. He helped me get in with the kids. He was a great music teacher himself. And then he was teaching horns and everything, so I was really focused on drums, bass, keys, guitar, that rhythm section, that building the jazz band part, but doing it in a modern band style. And that was like how we started getting into schools is, hey, you have a great jazz band, but your rhythm section, I can help build that through a modern band class, and then you can take them and they'll know how to read and everything. I remember going in thinking, I'm going to teach these kids how to play classical guitar.
How'd that go?
It went terrible. They hated me. And it was not the same. And it was so hard these are kids from different means, different background, demographics, and I had to change my shift on what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, how to approach them, how to teach a group.
You got to meet them where they're at.
Exactly.
Right?
So I started writing music for them. Spanish tunes, and then like just instrumentals. And then I started doing these pop tunes that they liked. Like we did a Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z song. I don't remember the name of it right now, but they loved it. So
Awesome.
the band that we worked with, the partner band, they would come in and they would play, and then the kids would rap with them and everything. And now all of a sudden we're bringing kids with means, kids without means together to play concerts together. They're working together. They're mentoring each other. And that is when I realized I was onto something really, really cool.
Yeah.
Working with students who could afford music lessons on Sundays in rock bands, and then using those funds and that fundraising to be able to then go into schools that can't afford music programs, to be able to buy them instruments, teach them, and then for them to both play concerts together, to come together, the families. And through music, you don't know who has means, who doesn't have means. Everyone is empowered through music, and they develop a platform to be able to tell their stories, and that's the beauty of music.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about where things are going to wrap up. I think we've seen, because of the impact that YMU has had in students' lives, we've seen tremendous generosity from everybody, from the city of Miami, the city of Miami Beach, from the Miami Foundation, from the Perez Foundation. We've seen it from grassroots donors. We've seen it from corporate sponsors like our match for today, Amicon, matching us at $5,000.
Green Spoon Martyr,
Green Spoon Martyr,
Design District.
How about 1 RPM, who we just opened our new recording studio with,
Colby
right?
Carp.
Yeah, I mean, we have, it's a little overwhelming to think of how much support we have right now. It's kind of, better not mess it up. It's it's kind of overwhelming. We went from 24 students and this idea you had with Virginia and Jeffrey that you had to fight to get a couple parents on board with, to now having mass support from hundreds and hundreds of parents and businesses and foundations. What does that enable us to do, and what does the future of YMU look like with the right kind of support?
So the cool thing is that we offer 9 different genres of music, and growing. And the reason we do that is we meet the students where they're at. We go into a school, survey the landscape, let the kids touch different kinds of instruments, see which instrument it is that they actually like, survey that, and then bring a program dependent on the instrument choices.
Yeah.
We've been able to work with more teachers because of our varied genres. In school, we are, as I know, the only in-school music educators nonprofit in Miami-Dade right now. We help teachers get certified, pay for the certification process, and work with them along with the schools and teach schools how to bring music education. And then the after-school programs are the vocational experience programs, the media arts programs, where students are working towards becoming employable or scholarship ready upon graduation. The biggest thing that we're focused on right now is community. And when I say community is we're not going to go and pick up a school anymore. If we're going to pick up a school, we're going to look at a community and try to pick up 5 to 8 schools. We want to make sure that a student can pick up an instrument from elementary school and continue that to high school, that they have a consistent, continual music education, and they don't just leave our hands and it's over. We want to make sure that we can do the easiest thing from our early pitch and rhythm class, which is literally rhythms and singing, to heavy jazz, our rock ensemble at Beach High, and all these programs. We want to make sure that we can meet a student where they're at, no matter what level they get to, and they do not outgrow us. And then that goes into the after-school programs of the recording studio we have now, and the internships and the recording. We have interns that run this TV show that we have. But the idea is working with other nonprofits together with philanthropists to be able to identify full communities such as Miami Gardens with Music Access. There's 12 schools there, and working together with other nonprofits, layering and making sure that a kid can have free music education in school and after school from pre-K to 12th grade. I think that every child should have access in Miami-Dade, and I believe in that mission and that goal. And you can't do that alone. We physically cannot do that alone. I don't think anyone can, so we have to do it together.
And I want to talk to you about that for
Yeah.
a second, because even, you know, you and I work closely every day, and I have the utmost trust in your judgment. Yet, when you came to me and you said, hey, I have an idea. What if we get all of our competitors together and we do one project with all of us and share the resources? And I went, huh?
You, the board, everyone did.
Yeah.
But
So can you tell me where that thought came from, but more importantly, what each nonprofit that we're working with has brought to the table? Maybe we can give them a little shout out here and talk about some of the work they do as well.
So Daniel Lewis and Rebecca. Rebecca is the CEO of the Miami Foundation now. She used to be the CEO of Radical Partners. Rebecca's really developed me as a leader and her team because she did cohorts of picking emerging CEOs and doing classes with them and teaching them how not to burn out and everything. That was really important. Daniel Lewis is a philanthropist who believes that his goal is that every child in Miami-Dade should have access to free music education.
Which happens to be our goal too.
Yes. So they wanted a few of us to work together, and it didn't pan out well. So they decided to just do an open call to be able to get grants to give free music education in Miami-Dade, but you had to do it through a partnership.
Okay, so you're saying that Dan Lewis and Rebecca got together and they came up with a concept which was apply for our grant, but to win it, you have to have a partner, right?
Yes.
And wasn't there some requirements to that partner?
So now, not only that, you had to partner with somebody. You had to meet once a month, all of us, all the winners. So it was about 16 of us, right? Because you have 8 winners, 16 different nonprofits. And we had to meet for 8 hours once a month. And we learned to trust each other, to talk, to learn about what we do. And we went to Interlochen, which is an amazing music academy in Michigan. And something that came to us was, hey, if it wasn't for money, we would be all working together because we all do something different. And in the group is you have Achieve, which does after-school band programming.
That's Achieve Music.
For elementary school. You have Miami Music Project, who does community orchestras, classical music. You have Guitars Over Guns, after-school, hip-hop, SEL, you know, really working with the students, middle school and high school. You have Arts for Learning, doing arts and different kinds of things from pre-K, elementary school. Some high school and stuff, but it's a different kind of art. It's more loose, you know, arts and crafts, to music, to all kinds of things. And then you have Young Musicians Unite, who's focused on the in-school, truly learning to read music and all that stuff, right? It's different, which organizations do too.
Granular music skills part of it.
Yeah, and then our after-school programs are really just about the kids that rise to the top, that want to do more, that community engagement kind of, while the in-school is for everyone. So we all do something different, and we layer together so perfectly. So we realized that. And then that was the beginning of that push of, hey guys, this year has been over. The grant's done. If we want to move forward, we need to move forward collectively. And we realized that a lot of us in some way were in Miami Gardens. Our project was 5 schools of 12 Miami Gardens. Miami Music Project was already there. Guitars Over Guns was already in the high school, Carroll City High School. So we just decided, well, why don't we all, the YWCA was part of it, which we have the recording studio out. So why don't we just all work together in Miami Gardens and serve every child in Miami Gardens and give them an opportunity from pre-K to high school? And that came to a reality. It was a lot of conversations, a lot of trust, a lot of groundwork, meeting every single principal, meeting with the superintendent of MDCPS, getting blessings from a lot of people. And now we have music access being held at the Miami Foundation. You have Cunha, who's full-time, focused on the project. And we're all together, and we will continue to have bi-monthly meetings as the heads of organizations, working together on this one project that is guaranteed for 3 years of funding to guarantee music education for every child in Miami Gardens. And in my head, this is the beginning of something big. I want to pick the next neighborhood, hopefully, and we'll all go there together and survey and see what other nonprofits are there, not just eat them up and say, there's amazing nonprofits there. That nonprofit should now be part of this coalition. And maybe a few of us aren't part of the next one because it's not the right neighborhood for us. I don't know, but, you know.
But I was just going to say, but to build the relevant coalition for that neighborhood, I think that's an amazing and kind of inspired approach that I'm really excited to see continue for YMU, because this particular project in Miami Gardens has been so kind of unique to watch unfold.
So I've been sort of rambling a little bit, but the reason why it's so important for Young Musicians Unite is the reason they don't have music education in a lot of schools is for two reasons. One, you just have teachers coming and going and coming and going, and all the equipment's being stolen and broken in those transitions. And then the principal says, well, we can't afford a music program because every new teacher wants me to give 20 grand to get equipment. So that's one thing that happens, which we keep track of all the equipment, we purchase equipment, we help the
we
principals
take that
find
burden off of the school.
Find new teachers that are right, that fit the right genre. So we have that. And the second main thing is low enrollment of schools, so they can't afford it. And you have this catch-22.
Low enrollment equaling low funding.
Yes. So by working with a full community, you have two things happening. One, you are working with the elementary, we do 5th grade, and then we're working with the middle school and the high school. When we do concerts, we're doing collaborations together. The parents are seeing the kids are seeing that there's a program in the middle school, and instead of trying to leave to a different feeder pattern, they're continuing to middle school because they know that they can continue the same instrument, the same program, but at a higher level.
And so this is actually helping the schools we work with improve their numbers, improve their enrollment, and increase their funding.
Yes. And now we go into a school, we're paying for everything in year 1, and then in year 2, they're able to afford a part-time teacher usually because their enrollment has gone up just because of the music program. And then hopefully in year 3, we have a full-time teacher there. So we are focused on community engagement, that the community's coming together, they're working together, there's shows together, that the enrollment's going up. And you have the catch-22 of the K-8 schools, which we solve. And the K-8s is the kids get to 5th grade, they leave in 6th grade. They leave because there's no arts, anything besides PE. And there's no arts because there's not enough kids. There's not enough kids because there's no arts. So we come in there, we just flip the bill for the first year, and then all of a sudden the student numbers go up, and then all of a sudden there's a robust art program. And that's what we do very well. And if you're working with a full community, it's so much easier to accomplish your goals together and get all the principals on board. And there's always a neighborhood hero, a philanthropist, somebody who truly cares about that neighborhood that you can tap and work with. So Young Musicians Unite, in a nutshell, our next step right now is we're surveying the Brownsville, Northwestern area. We're in 3 schools there. There's 17 we just surveyed. There's a total of 20, and we want to be in all 20 of those schools for fall. So we're looking at a 17 school growth, which will cost us about $400,000 more in funding per year to be able to accomplish that.
Understood. Well, it's a lot to look forward to.
Yes.
Look, man, I've enjoyed talking to you today.
Thank you.
It's been the honor of my life working on this project, and love you very much, bro.
Love you too, and thank you so much for all the good work you do.